Okay, so I've just seen this news. Mason Greenwood charges have been dropped on the basis that new evidence has come to light. Um, and new material means it's no longer a realistic prospect of conviction. I don't know what that means. I'm going to give you probably like a handful of things that I think will happen after this, and the reason why it's relevant to your average Joe or Jessica in the UK. Boom. So, first thing, yeah, um, just the fact the charges have been dropped. Um, Mix of emotions, really. I don't know how you're feeling, people watching this. Don't know how you're feeling, mix of emotions about that. Um, People that don't know, Mason Greenwood is a 21-year-old footballer, plays for Man United, still signed to Man United. Um, he's played, I think, probably about 3 seasons, maybe 80 games, scored like I think probably 15, 20 goals, played for England, I think once, played a bunch of time for under 18s, under 21s. A year ago was his girlfriend, then girlfriend, I'm not sure if she is anymore, posted on her Twitter account, I think it was, what I remember seeing was two things. First was an image, swollen face, cut to the mouth, bleeding, and saying, alluding to this is what's happening to her in a relationship. Second thing I saw or heard was a voice note where it sounded like him, sounded like Mason Greenwood. I know his voice from interviews, sounded like him, saying some harrowing stuff. The one that sticks in my mind is put your legs up. I'm not going to F you, but put your legs up. And I thought, I'm listening to an assault, really. That's what's happening there, or an assault that's about to happen. And yeah, him being, 20 years old at the time, I just thought, wow, like, that doesn't happen in a silo. But I can't imagine, being anywhere near that situation or knowing people that were, knowing a man that was. Yeah, it's just really sort of like sad, really. Yeah, so the first thing, what I think should happen, this is really important to catch this, what I think should happen, you should have to do a statement now. You're not guilty. Make a statement. What was it? That belongs to, particularly the influence on young men that follow football, I think, and obviously the super to the victims of that, what he was being accused of. If you're not guilty, then people are going to expect a statement. I'm going to talk about the things that are going to happen because I don't think this will happen, but that's what I think should happen in our culture. It's easy for footballers now to do statements, casual statements if they want. He's probably been getting all kinds of advice from people not to speak and probably doesn't know what to do. Second thing is, and I'm not necessarily for this, but that thing about the combination of withdrawal of key witnesses and new material that came to light. What does that mean? Let me just unpack that for you. For me, in my opinion, that means, and I don't have any personal experience of stuff like this, but just in terms of like law, like a little background of law. I don't know much criminal law, but I know law in general, how that stuff works. Like new light, what can it be? You can figure out yourself. New evidence coming to light means either A, there's evidence of her abusing him, which is common, right? Domestic violence can go both ways a lot of the time. Or B, something that debunks her evidence that she posted. I think it's probably either neither or the former, basically. Either the first one or nothing at all. What I think probably it is money and a lot of apologizing and money being involved in the situation. He's an incredibly rich young man, young 21-year-old. Even if he quit football today, he's probably still quite wealthy. I think that's really, and I'm not saying she's sold anybody out because I don't know this full situation. She's sold out other victims, by not pursuing it. But a traumatized person for a year having to go through this after being victimized, if she was, which I think she was, just wants a way out, and probably loved him at some point as well. If she was his girlfriend, and just wants a way out, and really wants for him to improve as a person and for herself to get better. So probably that's the reason why things have been dropped. What I think will happen is I can't see him playing for Man United again. That'd be wild. I don't think he will. If he did, you're getting booed everywhere. Okay, boo-hoo. You're getting chants about you. It's difficult for you in your personal life. You can't really go out again in England socially. So it's difficult for you to live in this country at the minute and have any sort of life that a 21-year-old would want to live, even just like being out with family and stuff. Difficult for his family to have any sort of life here. So I can see him moving abroad to another country where, sadly, it's not as big a deal if you're accused of something like that. Brazil, there's a goalkeeper, Bruno, who was actually murdered his girlfriend because she was chasing him in Italy. I think he's playing in Milan for child support, and he got found guilty of killing her. And yeah, just horrible things happened to her. You can look it up. Bruno, his name is, a Brazilian goalkeeper. He did 7 years of a 22-year sentence, I think it was, and then got signed by another club. There's a big backlash in Brazil, and then I don't think he ended up playing, but he played 4 years later for a lower league Brazil club, which is wild to me. This guy's about a convicted murderer. That's crazy. And of a woman as well. Like, so there's other countries where that maybe Brazil, it's probably definitely in Brazil, it's more likely that he could get a club there, and people, I'm not saying people would care less, but I think it's more chance of him having a career. And I don't know how I feel about that. I haven't got an opinion on that. It's just, the whole thing's wild to me. But that's what I think will happen. He'll move abroad. The key thing is, what does this mean for the wider culture, football culture, and just culture of around that follows young men and men in general in the UK, and obviously follows women that find themselves victimized in some way or abused in some way. What does this really mean? And I think there's just questions, not answers. The first one I'd say is, do majority of men 21 years old in the UK understand the nuance of the situation and how close they are to this themselves? Like I say, I can't imagine myself being in that situation, asking a girl, telling the girl, put your legs up. I can't. It's wild for me. But you know, I can see how it could get that far. A guy that feels entitled to everything, including his girlfriend's body, entitled to money, entitled to riches, to fame, to success, gets all of it in every other area, and then struggles socially to communicate and to have a full personal life and relationship life. I can see how that could happen almost without any sympathy for this guy. And I'd love to speak to young people, particularly boys, but just young people, boys and girls, and say like, yo, like in the UK, like, do you know what consent is? Do you know how to look for it? Like if I Googled it, I Googled this just before doing this video. And it's something I've checked up before with boys in the past, doing workshops with boys, and it's the 5 things that come up. Cues for consent might look or feel like: 1, looking at you, smiling, nodding; 2, being relaxed and happy; 3, being enthusiastic and responsive; 4, kissing you back and touching you. And the 5th one here, I don't like: responding to you with their body. I don't like how that's written. But those 4 is nothing. At no point does it say when she says no, when he says no, that's when consent is withdrawn. It's everything but the verbal consent. So I'm not sure people know how to look for that in general. And this is not me explaining or reasoning for someone that would go this far. Quite the opposite. I'm worried about this person playing football again anywhere, and just people reading this and going to the straight extremes of like, oh, a feminist believes women shouldn't. A feminist believes that women can accuse men of all kind of things and they should go to jail. That's not the case. A feminist just believes that women shouldn't be at like constant risk of assault and pain and stuff like that any more than men should be. That's a feminist. Equal. That's it. Like equal in terms of safety. It's not hard to be a feminist. Do you know what I mean? Like it's pretty straightforward, bro. And yeah, just in this age that we live with Andrew Tate and all that other stuff, the reason I'm smiling because it's just like, if I don't, I'll cry. Like, it's going to be lumped in with that. And I'll probably have a look at some comments. I won't engage with this too much. But I wonder what it does mean for consent and training of boys in the UK and of girls as well. The third thing that it means as well is the English legal system can always be swayed with money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, yeah, I'll leave that as that. the final thought is, yeah, I hope everyone reads this video. It checks out two things. That's Googling consent and looking into that. Whoever you are, have conversations about that and consent rather than having gossip about assault and stuff like that. Obviously, if you have been assaulted in this thing, you need to speak to someone. But if you're talking about it in a gossip sense where it's unconnected to you in any way, doesn't affect you personally in any way, then maybe talk about consent instead of talking about assault and all these kind of things. Secondly, if you want to watch something of mine, I'm a poet, a rapper and a poet, and I did a performance called Do You Really Love Women? And that's on this same channel. I'm not trying to bark views, I'm just trying to get this off my chest really, because if I'm not, I'll go crazy. But that is something I did a year or two ago. Do You Really Love Women? You can check that out. Yeah, be safe.